Getting almost any information on AAVs takes too much sample and time, yet answers on titers, empty-full ratio, and aggregation are crucial to figure out your next move. Stunner delivers all this info fast and easily, with only 2 microliter of sample. The unique combination of AAVs, SLS, and DLS on Stunner quickly tells the whole story about your AAV's titer. My name is Niels, and I'm the product manager for the Stunner product line. I would like to thank my colleagues Ross, Kirsten, and Kevin for their help in preparing this presentation. Let's focus on 2 technologies, DLS and AAVs. Each of them tells a part of the story. DLS gets you info on capsid titer and aggregation, but can't say anything about what's happening with DNA. On the other hand, AAVs gets you the total amount of protein, DNA, and can link those to empty-full ratio, but doesn't give you info about capsids being intact or not. Each gets valuable info, but neither tells you everything. So what if you could combine them to get a whole story? That's where Stunner brings it all together to deliver answers on capsid titer, empty-full ratio, and aggregation with only 2 microliter of sample in less than a minute. And there's no labels, no reagents, no standards. You just use the samples you've got. Now how does Stunner do this? Simply add in 2 microliter of AAV above a titer of 10 to the 12th into the input well, and it's pulled into the microfluidic reservoir. At this step the sample can sit for up to 2 hours before reading, with no evaporation. After the plate is loaded into the instrument, the circuit is first read empty to remove any absorbance contribution from the plastic. Then a pump applies a small vacuum which moves the sample into the microcuvettes to be read. Because the circuit has fixed path lengths, it can make very precise and accurate reads. Stunner measures multiple techniques at a time. AAVs for concentration and DLS for sizing. SLS intensity data is also read during a DLS experiment. Stunner will combine all the pieces of information into the full story about your AAV. DLS tells you what shape your AAV is in, if there's only capsids, or if aggregates have started to ruin things. DLS also lets you figure out how much SLS intensity is coming from just your AAV capsids. AAVs brings information on how much total protein is in your sample and how much single-stranded DNA there is. Based on some simple info you tell Stunner before an experiment, it calculates empty-full ratio and a percent full, and that on 1 to 96 samples at a time. Stunner helps you know your AAV inside out. On the left, the whole story is told in one graph. Starting with the left side blue bar, which is the protein in a sample. AAVs got you the total amount of protein, and here we're expressing it as how many possible capsids all that protein could make. By adding in DLS and SLS info, Stunner splits up that information into the light blue bar, which is aggregates and extra protein junk, and the dark blue bar, which is the total titer for the intact AAV capsids. On the right hand side, in the green bar, the process follows the same steps for DNA. The total height of the green bar is the total amount of DNA expressed as the total number of viral genomes that you can make. Light green is extra DNA, and dark green is the number of intact full AAV capsids. Dividing dark green, so the full capsids, by dark blue, so the total capsids, gets you a percent full number. This is shown in yellow on the right graph. Purple is percent empty, which is just the remainder. Empty-full ratio is purple divided by yellow. To look more into our ability to see percent full values, we took stocks of empty and full AAV9 and mixed them at different ratios. For each combination, 100% full stock, 80% full stock, and so on, Stunner gets a good read on the data, and percent full and percent empty align well with expected values. And this idea works for any serotype. Just tell Stunner the basics about what serotype you have and what its DNA payload is, and Stunner takes care of the rest of the heavy calculating. For getting capsid titer, Stunner is way faster and requires less upfront work than ELISA's. Here we've taken full or empty AAV9 and run a dilution series where we've compared Stunner's total capsid titer metric against the result for a capsid ELISA. The results have slopes close to 1 and R-squared values above 0.99. And importantly, it would take hours to get this ELISA data, while Stunner's done it in less than an hour with no sample prep. From only 2 microliters, Stunner combines UV-Vis, DLS, and SLS data to tell the whole story about your AAV, delivering mountains of data about sample aggregation, AAV full and empty capsid titers, and empty-full ratio. So that's how Stunner delivers label-free, standard-free, and hassle-free gene therapy quant. If you have questions, want to learn more about our Stunner system, or just want a quote, don't hesitate to visit our website or email info@unchainedlabs.com.